Start. Okay, so welcome to week 6, weekly Zoom. It's good to see you guys. I want to just start off with our movie poster project. Thank you guys all for picking a movie, getting it entered in. I'm super excited to see what you come up with. You've got sketches that are due in a few days, just of what you're thinking of and what you're coming up with. You can have those done and already be working in Illustrator on your vector work. Totally fine. You just work at your own pace for that, just knowing that the final due date is coming up. The final project checklist on the Let's All Go to the Lobby page gives you the due dates for everything. So this weekend is when the sketches are due, and then you've got next week to do your 2 in progress vector Illustrator files and your peer review. We're going to give that peer review thing another try. So does anyone have any questions so far or need any clarification on the project? And I want to show you, I have Grant's permission again to show you his sketches. So I was going to kind of show you, he turned in his sketches already for feedback from me of what I thought like maybe would be like a good idea for him to move forward with. So if you want, I can start with showing you guys that and just see if that brings about any questions. It's interesting because he's the one person who's actually not doing a mainstream movie. He has friends that are doing a movie, making a film right now, and so he opted and checked with me to see if he could do their movie. So I'm gonna just share with you his screen, his sketches. So let's go with this one, share. All right, so here's what Grant submitted to the submission page so far. This is his sketches, and of course he's done a ton of thumbnails, and then just asked for my feedback of what I thought was the most interesting. Obviously I haven't seen the movie, as it is not, I don't even think it's done yet, but my gut and the most interesting thing, what I told him, was the ones where you can see the reflection of something in the hilt of the sword. I thought those were really cool, and I encouraged him to actually go with this third, the top row, third one over, because I thought it was going to provide some more interesting vector practice, you know, with some curved lines, some straight lines, a reflection. He's got headline and text boxes, as well as a hand. And, you know, everybody knows how difficult it is to draw accurately any part of the anatomy. But I thought this was a pretty cool start. So that's where you guys should be at. You've all chosen your films, and now you just get to start being creative. So does anyone need any help with the movie project? All good?
I just have one question.
Sure.
So we're doing 2 sketches, but for turning in the final, do we only turn in 1 poster, or do we do both of them?
So you can do as many sketches as you like. Then you do 2 roughs in Illustrator, because just because usually, and what I would do is open an Illustrator file with 2 artboards so you can have your versions side by side. Because often when you're designing and creating, even though you're working off of a sketch that you've already created, once you get it onto the size that you're working with, that 11 by 17 artboard, and moving stuff around and choosing a font that may not fit exactly the way you had anticipated in your sketch, it's nice to have a second artboard for those overflow ideas. So those, you're just going to rough out your 2 ideas. You're going to make that a PDF and upload that for your peer review. That way your classmate can weigh in on which they like best. They might be like, I like the headline on this one, but I like the illustration better on this one, and here's why. And then you have an opportunity to create your final based on that feedback and based on not only your sketches, but your 2 kind of rough Illustrator ideas. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Questions about that? We're good? All right, so questions about anything else we've done so far. Creating swatches, the pen tool, any of that tracing exercise or anything that you might want a demo on for more, just kind of more practice and more expertise on. I want to look at one thing too.
I was pretty lost. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm used to Photoshop a little bit more, but I guess my issue is so when I was connecting, like trying to make shapes and stuff, I knew
Sure.
that if I would click on something else, it would try to continue where the dot was at, and I'm having trouble like just stopping it there and trying to create new.
A new thing. And this was with the pen trace tool
Mm-hmm.
exercise. All right, cool. I'm going to open up a file and show you because there's a fairly easy solution to that, but also that is it's the biggest challenge to go from Photoshop to Illustrator because you're working in something that Adobe has created to look very similar and some of the tools are identical, but then they really work completely differently because you're working with vector instead of pixels. So let me open, let's see, pen trace tutorial. I'm going to open both of these and then I'll share my screen again. Yeah, and then another thing that I noticed on a couple of the assignments that you got that people turned in, that instead of creating a curve, there was just a series of straight paths to make it look like it was curved. So I thought maybe it would be good to show you also what it looks like to create a curved. Okay, so can you guys see my Illustrator file right now? And I've got my layers panel open. I'm just going to lock the layer that the art is on so that when I draw on top of it, it doesn't accidentally add an anchor point to the existing art. This will be something that you guys can do when you're working. If you have created your sketches for the movie poster and want to actually place that photo into your document to be able to draw right on top of it, that's, that's a real good way to work. And you would place it on a layer, lock that layer, and then you can just draw right on top of it. Turn this on. Okay, so and just delete what I have. So pen tool, just P on the keyboard or it's right here. I've currently got a purple stroke and a no fill, and I'm going to change this to something really bright that's going to stand out from what we already have. So probably a blue or a green. You just do a bright green so that it stands out. I'm just using the eyedropper in the color panel just to kind of eyeball a nice bright green. And then I'm going to go to my stroke panel, or I can also use the control bar at the top. And I'm going to bump up the weight of the strokes so that we can really see it when I start to draw. So the problem, Nancy, that you're describing is you start your path, right? And you're going along. Here's the easiest way to create a curve. I know this wasn't your issue, but I wanted to touch on it. To create a curved line or an anchor point with toggles, you just click and hold and then drag your mouse or whatever you're using to draw with until it gives you a curve. And you can see the red is where my line is going to end up. And I'm just pulling it to try to get it as close to possible to the original artwork that I'm tracing. And then when you click again, it's going to complete the curve. This time, because if I wanted to continue my curve down this half circle, I would click and drag again, but I'm going to take a hard right. So I'm going to just click once and then hold down shift so that I get a nice straight on the 90-degree axis. If I let go of shift, I can go any amount of degrees off of that. Shift is just a shortcut for snapping right to a 90 degree. So I'm going to do that. So what's happening is you're wanting to pass by, maybe you're wanting to pass by this anchor point and like go to the right, but it's wanting to join it, right?
Right.
So the one thing that you can do, and that's what's going to happen anytime you get close to an open anchor point, one that's not already closed, you can zoom in and just get as close to it as possible and drop an anchor point. And then say I want to go to the right, but now if I hold down shift, it's going to be off a little bit. What I'm going to do is just go ahead and drop it. And then you can go back, use your selection tool, the white arrow, and just then grab it and move it. So that's one way to do it so that it's where you want it to be. The other thing is if you're drawing on this, so I have it selected, I grab my pen tool again and I want to pick up where I left off. So see when I get near the anchor point that's open, it gives me that little dash off the bottom of the pen tool. That means it's going to connect to my existing path. So I'm going to connect to it so that I can keep drawing. The other thing you can do if you want to completely get off of this path and start a whole new path is just hit escape, and it will it'll disconnect your pen tool and give you a pen tool that's not connected. So right now it's connected. It wants to like draw another segment of path to my existing shape. If I hit escape, now my pen tool is free. So that's a thing. And then the other thing you can do is just skip back and forth using P and using A. A is the keyboard shortcut for the selection tool. And if you are on the selection tool and just click off of your path, it will deselect it. And then you can get the pen tool back by hitting P. So that's like another shortcut. And you can also use that while you're drawing. If you want to grab the selection tool and like finesse it a little, finesse your path a little bit, then go back and grab your pen tool again. That's also a creative, way or a workflow way to work on your, too close, to work on your, anything that you're doing with a pen tool. But pen tool, it takes a lot of practice. It intuits a lot that maybe you don't want it to, and it wants to jump and connect things that maybe you don't want it to. So you've got to be the boss of it and just get it to do what you want it to do. One thing also that under view, if you have smart guides turned on, smart guides will cause the pen tool, your selection tool, when you're moving things, to jump and to really snap to points. So if that's driving you nuts, just turn it off. And then you'll have a little bit more, you'll be a little bit more in control, and there'll be less of like the AI of Adobe trying to control and trying to think things through for you. So does that help?
It does, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. Anyone else have questions about this, the pen tool, or tracing, or the layers panel, or anything that I can show you with this assignment that you could use towards future things? Oh, you guys are all good? Thumbs ups all around? Okay, sweet. Is there anything else, other assignments that maybe you wanted to talk to or have questions about? This is going to be like our shortest Zoom ever. All right, well, if you guys are all good, I don't want to keep you. This was just an opportunity in an open lab midway through our Illustrator works for you to be forced into a conversation about Illustrator with me so I can make sure that we're all on the same page and that everybody's up to speed. So if you're good, feel free to sign off. I'll stay around for till everyone's gone in case anyone needs some one-on-one help. Sound good? All right, and I'm always available. Email me if you need me. Okay, guys, have a great rest of the week.